The second topic tonight is re-inspiring your catechists. Obviously, I've been a catechist, you've been a catechist, we're talking to catechists. So you know what it's like coming back in. What would make a difference to help to re-inspire catechists?
Right. Well, we're just going to walk through these points on the screen here, starting with you, the DRE or catechetical leader, to share your witness of faith. Again, it's New Year's. Maybe it's time for a resolution that as a DRE, as a leader, I'm going to share more of my own faith story as a way to try to connect and re-inspire and reinforce the catechists that are helping me in the vineyard. Again, DRE work can sometimes take on this business as usual mode and just a very business kind of a mode. It's a lot of administration, it's a lot of organization, those kinds of things. And those are all important things. And those are actually ways in which we can accompany people too when we do those kinds of things with pastoral intentionality. But it really begins with how we set the tone. And I think what we want from our catechists, besides teaching lessons, we want them to be dipping into the well of their own faith to be able to bring that out and share that with children in an age appropriate way, of course, but in ways that reinforce the lesson, that make the lesson come alive. And so that starts with you, catechetical leader, and we go back to the new directory, which says as a chief characteristic of catechist is to be a keeper of the memory of God. How are we keeping that memory of God alive in our life? In other words, how are we looking at the story of salvation in an ongoing way and trying to identify our own life story within God's story? The more we do that practice, however that looks, if it's journaling, whatever it is, in Lectio Divina, whatever that looks like for you, then to be able to carry that over that reflection to your catechists and say, in a sense, you're acting like an evangelizer to them. You're saying, hey, yes, we teach kids these lessons. Yes, vocabulary terms are important. Yes, assessments are needed. But why I do this role and why I'm here with you is because I believe in God, and here is why. And I'm using my life as a curriculum of sorts as I share my reasons for belief and for faith. So it really starts with you. And it's wonderful to have a DRE who is willing to go into their own heart and share from that heart with catechists. It reminds everybody that this isn't just about educating, this is about evangelizing, and it's not just about administration. This is about formation. So what a great way to kick off the new year, right? To jumpstart that program by you setting the tone and sharing from your own faith life. Could be in a catechist formation day. It could be just in an email to catechists. It could be however you deliver it. But the point is to be willing to deliver it. So that's point one. Point two, finding time to pray with your catechists. Again, it probably sounds like, really? Do we really need to talk about that? And my response is, again, having sort of been around the country, being in different dioceses and working with catechetical leaders, I would answer, yeah, we really do need to be more intentional about praying with catechists, because what does that typical, Wednesday or Thursday night look like if you're running a traditional, parish program? I might be there as the DRE. Probably should be there, but let's say I'm there. I probably got my own class, or I know I've got work that I need to do. I am looking to see if I've got catechists in every class. I am looking to see if I'm seeing students. But am I taking time to pray with those catechists before class? Or if I don't have time, can I pray after class with them? If we don't have time for that, can I email or text or through social media send them a very prayerful message? Once again, like in the reconnecting, I'm praying for you. I'm praying for your lesson tonight. I'm praying that the Holy Spirit speak through you, however you wish to articulate that prayer. But that means so much. And again, it keeps the focus on evangelization as much as we are teaching the faith to young people. Showing your enthusiasm. I'll go back to Pope Francis, who used the phrase or sentence, "We don't need sourpusses in the church." I love that, because that's the first time a colloquialism like sourpuss was used in an official papal document. But it makes a very strong point. And our kids know this truth from a very young age. When you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. And if you are a grumpy DRE or an angry DRE, that as much as your enthusiasm will carry over, that will carry over as well, and have a profoundly negative effect on your program. So kind of checking as a New Year resolution, checking that attitude and saying, what is my disposition towards my role this year? Am I really looking forward to re-engaging with those families, the pastor, the catechists? Because if you really are, then that's really going to carry over in a big way and affect everybody, maybe even transformatively. Keep the mission front and center. Again, we're not just in the business of educating, although sometimes it gets that way because of the conversations we end up having about parents or with parents, or because of out of concern for diocesan standards and guidelines, which are wonderful things, out of the concern for assessments, which are always important. But all those things sometimes bring us into this world of education, and we forget sometimes that it's a world not only of education, but a world of evangelization as well, where our witness means a lot. Our witness teaches just as much as the lessons do. Our attitudes, our affectivity is an important dimension of our catechesis. All these things kind of need to be brought back into harmony with our desire to educate. Finally, and this really kind of was inspired by the recent motu proprio from Pope Francis, Mysterium Antiquum, which talked about the new role of the instituted catechist, although maybe some catechists after a few years feel like they need to be institutionalized. But the instituted catechist, and what they're developing currently, is an official liturgical commissioning of those instituted catechists. But these are going to be like far and few between, whomever they are. And we still don't know what all the guidelines are for identifying these particular kinds of catechists. But take the lead of the Vatican, or take the cue from the Vatican here, and say, you know what? Have we done a commissioning right in our parish? If we haven't, it's something you can work out with Father very easily. There are rubrics out, but do something simple, something at the Masses on a particular weekend that just acknowledges the role of the catechist, how important it is, how spirit-led it should be, and that, again, as much as we are educators, we are evangelizers. It just really puts a sanctifying sort of stamp on the year, or however you want to say that. But consider that if you haven't done it. Again, we're jump starting our program. It's the New Year's. It's time for new resolutions. Maybe it's time for that commissioning, right? So those are our ideas for re-inspiring catechists.